So just let me say, law of attraction, discretion, and the new one?
Speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil. I may have to ask you that again.
No problem.
Is it ready? Hi, I'm Diana Belchase, and I'm here with the formidable Allison Leotta, a former federal crime prosecutor who writes the most amazing and accurate thrillers.
Thank you.
So I really enjoy your work so much, Allison.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you for sitting down with me today.
It's my pleasure.
So, fabulous books. The first one is Law of Attraction. The last one, Discretion. And I understand there's a new one coming out?
Yes.
Speak of the Devil?
Yes, this August. I'm very excited about that one.
Well, not as excited as I am to find out what's going to happen next.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's so nice to hear.
So tell us a little bit about your character, Anna.
Well, Anna is an assistant U.S. attorney specializing in sex crimes and domestic violence in D.C., which is perhaps not coincidentally the position that I held in the U.S. Attorney's Office for 8 years. And I was at Main Justice for 3 years before that. So I try to take a lot of the stories that happened to me, a lot of the cases, the details, the characters, the things I found most interesting, most heartbreaking, most heartwarming, and bring them to the stories and bring them to Anna's life so that she can go through them. She's a different character than me. I always have to note that she's a very different person, but I try to have her go through some of the things that a real AUSA, Assistant U.S. Attorney, would go through in D.C.
Well, I know your books are incredibly factual, and I know that you have a wonderful blog, the Primetime Legal Crime Review, right?
Yes, the Primetime Crime Review, yeah.
In which you go and you take a look at the latest episode of Law and Order,
Yes.
Sex Victims Unit, right?
Right.
For the Huffington Post, and you go through it, and she tells us exactly what was right and what was wrong with the episode. And I really love that, the element of factuality in your books. But it still has me questioning a couple of things, like indiscretion. You talk about the secret underground social clubs.
Yes.
Do those really exist?
They do, they really do, and I find that to be really fascinating. There are these clubs. The one that is in Discretion I called, I forget what I call it now. I was going to call it the real name of it. There's this real all-men's club in Washington, D.C., and it's purported to have a number of presidents and four-star generals and CEOs of giant corporations. They all meet kind of secretly there. It's all men. There's never been a female member, and they've been around for hundreds of years, and they meet, and a lot of people think some of the most world-changing decisions happen inside this club.
Oh my goodness.
So of course it sounded like great fodder for a novel for me, so I included that in the book. Discretion.
That's taking what you know at work and really making it pay for fiction. And no wonder you get the amazing reviews that you have and everything. But you know, you've faced so many obstacles just getting here. I mean, first of all, you have kids. You've had a really demanding day job. I understand that you had to have your novel vetted by 6 bosses before you could even submit it to an agent. How did you overcome all of this? I understand even your agent had passed away once.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I think every working mom juggles things in their own way, and we have our own ways of keeping balls in the air. In terms of getting the book vetted by DOJ, I wrote it, I got my agent, and then I consulted with my ethics attorneys at DOJ, and they said, we do need to read it to make sure you're not revealing any national security concerns, you're not violating any ethics rules, and there were a bunch of different people who had to review it for different things, and that review took about 4 months. At the time, it seemed to take forever, but it got through, and then my agent could sell it. She sold it. She was a wonderful agent. Her name was Elaine Koster. And it turned out that she had been battling cancer for a long time. Nobody knew this. She was this incredibly fierce advocate and one of the strongest women I'd ever met. And she didn't want folks to know that she was going through this. She fought for me. She got me my first book deal, and then she passed away before my first book, Law of Attraction, was published. I'm sorry she didn't get to see it happen. She's obviously an instrumental part in my whole writing career and a wonderful woman. Yeah.
Absolutely. I also know that in DC, there's so many lawyers who write fiction that it's become sort of a tight-knit community among the authors. Have you received a lot of help from the other authors in town?
One of my favorite parts of doing this is meeting other people who are writing, who love books, who are into this genre, and so that's been a lot of fun. Yes, actually, the woman who I'm doing this presentation with right now, Alma Katsu, is a friend. She's a former CIA analyst, and she writes these paranormal thrillers, wonderful, romantic, dark, sexy thrillers. And we often get together. We have lunch. We trade writing with each other. Critique each other a bit, and I love that. That's the funnest part of the job. Writing is a very solitary profession. It's very different from being a prosecutor that way. As a prosecutor, you're just surrounded by people all day, and as a writer, you are completely by yourself at the kitchen
your
table.
imaginary
Exactly,
characters.
exactly. Just you and your imaginary friends. So it's great to have somebody like Alma who I can trade ideas with and sit down and have that exchange.
I wanted to ask you about the Washington Post interview where they called your novel chick lit legal thriller, which I found sort of odd. Were you happy with that classification, and do you feel that there is some kind of disparity between the way women who write thrillers are treated versus the way men who write thrillers are treated?
Oh, that's interesting. So my editor, Lauren Spiegel at Simon Schuster's Touchstone, she tells me, don't call your stuff chicklet. It's a disparaging term, it's a pejorative term. It's not chicklet, so it's not chicklet. But personally, I don't mind the term chicklet. I think I've read my share of chicklet. I called it that when I was reading it, and I think basically it just means books that women are going to like. So a lot of times, a book that I enjoy revolves around relationships, people, characters developing, how they ping off of each other, how they grow. And so when somebody says it's chicklet, they mean that it's focused on these relationships. That's okay with me. That's all right. And I think generally that Washington Post article was very nice and glowing, and I was obviously very happy to be featured there.
I absolutely agree with that. I think of chicklet as, high heels and shopping. And your books are just wonderful, and they're so authentic, and there's really a level of grit in them, and I don't want the male readers to think that they're only for women, because they're not.
Thank you. Well, so it is, there is a lot of the street crime and the kind of the grittiest side of life in DC is something that I explore in a lot of my books, because that is necessarily part of what the job was, and I do want to portray what the job is. So it's an interesting balance to try to balance off both this very kind of dark side of the world and this point of view that women are going to relate to and want to read.
Well, I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure that in August you are lined up for that new book, The Devil.
Speak of the Devil.
Speak of the Devil. And don't forget about Law of Attraction and Discretion, both wonderful books by Allison Leotta. And I'm Diana Belchase. Keep reading.
Thanks.